Hey folks, and how are you doing today? Now, welcome to this episode of The Grow Show, where we are going live in the Grow community. So if you're not in the Grow community, this is our Facebook group where, do you know what? We give you exclusive access to these types of interviews before anybody else. And if you're in the group, thank you very, very much for being part of the community. Now, today I've got a live with, and I'm going to talk with Saffron Medway. Now, I'm going to start Saffron Medway. Where did I get the mead from? It's Medway. It's Medway. So Saffron Medway. And we're going to be talking about all things baking, all things caking, if that's a word. I'm sure it is. She'll correct me if I'm wrong. And we're just going to discuss how she's developed her business, where she started from, lessons that she's learned, and all the good stuff along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on Saffron and get her into the room as well. So, Saffron, how are you doing today? You all right?
Hi. Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you. Really good.
Cracking. So, for the people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about you and how you help people on a day-to-day basis.
So I run Caking and Baking in Leamington Spa, and I've had the shop here now for 4 years, and I was baking at home before that for 9 years. We create cakes for every celebration, weddings, christenings, birthdays, etc. We do a lot of corporate works, and we do a lot of wholesale work too.
Love it, and I'm proud to say that I've known you since you took on Caking and Baking, which is fantastic. And your journey, even in that short space of time, has been absolutely incredible. And I'm also honoured to say that I've tasted your creations many times. Including buying a lovely cake for my other half's 40th birthday a couple of months ago. So trust me when I say this, folks, you need to try it. You need to try it. So how did you get into it all? Have you always had an interest in baking?
Well, no, originally baking was my stress relief. So I had quite a stressful job pre this. And it was what I did sort of to try and relieve that stress. At the end of the day, it was my hobby. And I suffer quite badly with insomnia. So I used to just come down in the middle of the night and make sugarcraft animals and figures and things like that. And it just kind of grew from there. I'd make the kids' birthday cakes and their friends would want one, and then my friends. And it became bigger and bigger and bigger until I had to become, well, you can't sell cake without being registered legally. So I registered the business and just started doing it from home until it just overtook the home. There was nowhere to go. There was no space. The oven was constantly had cake in it. Every kitchen surface had cake on it. We couldn't eat because there was cake everywhere. So we had to make the decision. Something had to go.
Yeah.
Whether it was my job, and I was working full time still as well. So I was going to work, coming home at 6 o'clock, sorting the kids out, and then starting to work at 9 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning, and starting again. So yeah, I had to make some decisions, which is when I decided to open the shop. So, yeah.
Nice. And it's never kind of an easy decision to set up a business or decide to kind of go from that self-employment or doing it as a kind of not your main kind of profession or your main level of income, and then going to, starting afresh and starting anew. How did you find it? Because for some people who are watching, they might be in that situation at the moment.
It was really scary. I was in the fortunate position that my husband was able to support me. And he said to me that I have 12 months to make a profit. And if I could make a profit in those 12 months, then we'll take it bigger. So I gave up my full-time job and just did cake at home for 12 months. And obviously made a profit, and we decided that was a good thing to carry on with. So that's when we bought the shop, and we moved from the house to the shop, and it's just got bigger and bigger. So, but yeah, it was really scary to start with.
Yeah, I didn't realize it's actually quite a short space of time between you starting and then getting the shop.
Yeah, it was exactly a year.
Wow. So not only did you I love the fact you gave yourself what I call a kill metric, in terms of you've got a 12 months, and if you can turn a profit within that time, you can do that. I love that, because that's how I do many of my different projects, is literally have a kind of a time frame. If it's working after this time, happy days. If it's not, let's kind of, in the nicest possible sense, let's kid it. Let's move on to something else. So that was really kind of cool to hear. But a year going from that to the shop, and tell us about the shop. Where is it, and where can people find it? For people
So
who are
we're based in Leamington Spa. We're actually the first shop that you come to on your way into Leamington from Warwick. So we're right on the corner of Warwick Place and Woodbine Street near the Star and Garter.
nice. So it's been a whirlwind of 5 years or 6 years or so. It has. What did you do before then? What was your kind of full-time job before that? Because
Well, before I got
we're
into
gonna ask.
cake, I was a Weight Watchers leader. So
Okay.
I helped people lose weight and then I gave them cake. So yeah.
Well, you were just trying to get more customers, weren't you? Just by trying to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and have you always kind of been into kind of, I suppose, nutrition and all that kind of stuff?
No, again, that was something I fell into by accident as well. Prior to that, I was in export and distribution, and I just kind of got into it. I had weight to lose, so I joined the meeting, and it just kind of carried on from there. And I did that then for 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So from export to Weight Watchers to setting up a retail business, well, a baking business, and then turn into a retail business.
Yeah.
You don't make it easy for yourself, do you? Because they're all very tough industries to kind of be in.
I'm the kind of person, if you're going to do something, I'm going to put my all into it and I'm going to do everything I can for that. And I think that comes across in what I do. I'm not prepared to do anything half-hearted. It's all or nothing with me, I'm afraid.
That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. If you're all or nothing, then at least you're going to have your full attention on that particular project at that time, which is fantastic. So, having kind of, you made a decision to move from your home to retail premises.
Mm-hmm.
First couple of years, how was it? Moving into it, was it what you expected?
It was different. I had evenings free, which for the first time in a long time, because obviously I shut the shop and went home.
Yeah.
Whereas I hadn't done that before. So that was different. And just having a bit more space, which is odd because I suddenly have this business and I have staff and I have a lot more work, but I had more free time in the evenings. And at weekends, because the shop wasn't open on a Sunday, so it gave me that day to down tools and sort of refocus, and also to know that it wasn't all on me. I have staff members, so I didn't have to do everything myself. So yeah, it was different, but it was good.
Nice. And obviously, then the COVID got to kind of address it. That happened. How did that kind of work with you and your business? Because you're at that point in time, you're 3 years in.
Yeah. It was worrying to start with. I have to admit, I didn't quite know what was going to happen. We hadn't when they first shut everything down, we weren't offered the support straight away. But we were shut for 2 weeks, and then we were told, because we're a food producer, we were expected to be open. We were considered an essential service. Apparently cake is essential, I would agree. So we had to reopen, but obviously we couldn't have people in. So we were doing brownie and cake deliveries, and it was just mental. One day we delivered over 700 brownies. And it was, I think, if anything, lockdown was probably the most stressful and busiest that we've been work-wise. It was, we were here all hours baking and packaging, and then we had 4 people out doing deliveries, and it was long days and a lot of work. And I did say that once we came out of lockdown, if they were to put us in another lockdown, that I wouldn't open, because it was just too much for us.
And that's actually quite an interesting insight to have, that actually being too busy and too overwhelmed isn't a good thing. We know that in our personal lives, we can, you've already alluded to it, that you can only focus really well on one project at a time. But yeah, having that kind of all-consuming.
It was, yeah. I mean, I'm very grateful. We could have, things could have been very different, and we could have just gone completely under. So I'm really, really grateful that didn't happen. But we had to sort of take stock and go, actually, this isn't good for any of us, staff members, home, family, myself. It was really becoming very difficult. And we wanted to help everybody. We wanted to give everybody the best of, people sitting at home. we wanted to give them those treats and those, you know, those nice things that they were having in life, but it became to the point that we just couldn't keep up with the demand.
And did you, during that time, have issues with staffing, with people obviously going down with COVID, or were you quite lucky in terms of your staffing not getting involved in that kind of side?
My staff members were all on furlough. So it was myself, my husband, and my daughters. We were all in here doing that, and because we all lived together, we were able to all work together. And none of us actually had COVID. I think until it was after lockdown, before it hit our house. So yeah,
Yeah,
hard.
that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So, in your kind of short, I say short, is, you know, you're probably in the 80% kind of percentile, aren't you, in terms of businesses who have lasted over 6 years, especially through a pandemic. You know, that's completely unprecedented. What kind of tips have you kind of gleaned from that time? You know, what kind of golden nuggets do you want to share with people? Now, it doesn't have to be, you know, we'll go on to baking in a bit, but this is just purely business at this point, if that's okay.
I would say surround yourself with good people. When I first had the shop, we had some good people around us. Over lockdown, we lost some of our staff members, and I changed staff. And I don't think that was healthy for me or the shop. I think I panicked and had people in that maybe weren't the right kind of people. And I got to the point actually in last December that I didn't even want to be here. I had put it on the market and I was just not happy with where I was. But then I had a whole change of staff. We've got a whole new team and they all really want to be here and they're happy people, and their energy, I feed off their energy rather than the negative energy. And I'm actually really enjoying being back in the shop. So the lesson that I have learned is surround yourself with good people.
Love it. Love it. Now, let's talk about baking for a little bit, if that's all right. Which is probably a topic that you're probably more happy talking about rather than on the business side, I can imagine. But in terms of baking, you're talking to someone who hasn't really got a clue about baking, you know, and luckily I can go to good people like you, so I don't have to. But if someone wanted to start kind of getting into baking, or has an ambition of baking a cake but doesn't know where to start, for instance, what do they do? Where do they go? What do they need?
The thing to remember is that baking is a science. Cooking is a skill that you can just pick up and you can learn and you can change things. Like if you're making a curry, you don't want to put mushrooms in it, you don't put mushrooms, you get the same result. But baking is actually a science. So if you take something out of a recipe, you have to add an equivalent. So if you don't want to add egg, for example, you have to put something else in to replace that. You can't just miss it out. Ingredients wise, when it tells you that it's 50 grams, it's 50 grams. It's not 48 or 55, it's 50. Stick to it. So think of everything as a science-based experiment rather than just following a recipe, and you'll get it right.
See, I like this because when I first moved into my house, my other half, I had to learn how to cook. And I literally, and we joke about it now, that if it said 15 minutes cooking time on the actual kind of packet, or a certain amount of ingredients, I would do for that. I would do that amount of ingredients for that amount of time. I was a stickler, and then realised actually there's a bit of flexibility in the oven. You know, that's based not on my oven, that's based on their. You know, all that kind of stuff. So actually, that's music to my ears. That actually baking is a more of a science. So if it tells you 50 grams, like you said, you put 50 grams in.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot more sense to me because that's in my mind how it should be. It should be.
Yeah.
But do you need lots of equipment to be able to do it? Because obviously people might have the inkling and they might have kind of the ideas of doing it, but they might not have the stuff at home.
No, honestly, you don't. You could bake a cake in a Pyrex glass bowl if you wanted to. There's, you know, you don't have to have any special ingredient equipment. You can mix up in with a bowl and a spoon. You don't need a mixer for it. Obviously, if you're doing it on a bigger scale, then you do. But to be honest, if you just do something at home, then no, you can get away with pretty much anything.
Sweet. And what kind of creations? And they are creations. They're pieces of art. Some of them, to be fair. Or donuts. One of the two. Donuts or pieces of art. To be fair, your donut.
The donuts are
If
good.
you haven't checked out the Instagram for Cake and Bacon, check it out, and you see the donuts. You'll know what I mean. But yeah, they are creations. How long does one of those kind of take? And is there a big process to go through it?
Yeah, it's difficult to say how long a cake takes to make because it is a process over a few days. So the cake will be baked on one day, it will be covered and filled the next day, and then it will be decorated the day after, ready for delivery that same day. So it can take anything between sort of 2 to 3 days. Some things take a bit longer, which, like if it has a lot of sugar flowers or sugar work on it, or we will be doing that for a week beforehand before it even goes anywhere near a cake. So it just depends on the intricacy of the cake itself. If you're just doing a basic sponge cake, you can do that at home in about half an hour, but that's not going to happen here. So yeah, it can take a while.
Yeah, I know when don't do, and the people who listen and watching, don't do what I do, and literally the week of the birthday, give Saffron a quick message on Facebook and go, help. But plan it out a little bit more.
You'd be surprised at how many people do that.
It's just the way it kind of fell, and it was brilliant. And it, as I say, what's the when I think of kind of some of the stuff I've kind of seen you produce, is produce actually the right word? I don't know. Produce, create. What's the have you had some proper kind of strange requests? So I can imagine you might have had a few wacky ones.
Yeah, I just think they're all a bit different. I've made snakes. I've made a cake in the shape of a snake. We've done quite a few fish. People seem to like fish on their cakes. Cars and vans and that kind of thing. I think the more sculpted cakes are a bit more fun. But the thing that I find the oddest is when people come to me and they say, well, like, it's my husband's birthday and he's into this, that, you know, like 50 different things, and they want all of those things on the cake. And it's kind of, we have to find a way of making that work for them. So that can be a bit tricky. There have been some cakes that I've had to turn down because they don't fit with my ethos. I won't do anything that I consider to be adult related. But yeah, we do get some unusual requests.
Fair play. I think my brief to you was chocolate and salted caramel. That was literally that was the brief, and it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Chocolate all the way around it, loads of chocolates in there, and then the cake itself was just it was good. It was good. Now I can imagine your industry to be kind of slightly ever changing because people's tastes will probably change as kind of time goes on. Can you kind of see any trends that you can kind of see happening, or any way that the industry is moving over the next 12 months to give people a bit of an insight of where the industry is kind of going and where you're going as a business potentially?
Yeah, I mean, things change regularly. There are definite cake trends, and we see it in the kind of things that we're being asked to do. When something big comes, like when the royal wedding comes out, everybody wants that flavour cake. We did a lot of lemon and elderflower cakes. When I think Harry and Meghan got married, they had lemon and elderflower, and we did an awful lot of those cakes then. At the moment, sort of people are moving away from the sugar crafted fondant cakes into more of the buttercream cakes, so that's coming back into fashion. Semi-naked cakes are always the way to go. Everyone loves a semi-naked cake, which is a nice option.
Sorry, just to kind of elaborate, what's a semi-naked cake?
Okay, so semi-naked cake is when it's iced with buttercream or ganache, and you can actually see the cake through it. So that's yeah, it's a lot less sugar involved in that, and I think it looks nicer as well. But you know, it just depends on the kind of thing you like. People will see something. We get a lot of pictures from sort of Instagram and Google, and people say, "Can you recreate this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Has it always been that way, or have you kind of developed that as you've gone along?
No, it's always been a bit like that. Yeah, I don't shy away from things. People will send me something that I have absolutely no idea about, and I'll be like, "Yeah, I can do that."
Nice.
I think recently I had somebody sent me a bonsai tree on a cake. I've never done that before in my life, and I was like, I have no idea how to do that, but I'm going to do it. And it was great, actually. I enjoyed it, and it looked really good. So yeah.
What an attitude to have. Yeah. To be fair, that's kind of how I built this business. It's a case of yeah, I'll do it. And then trying to sometimes figuring it out afterwards. But then you learn and you kind of put yourself in the self-imposed deadline and you go from there. It's all good. It is. So what's the future kind of hold for Cake and Bacon and Saffron? Have you got kind of big plans, or what's your kind of plans for the next few years?
Honestly, I don't know. I feel like this shop has done exactly what I wanted it to do. I'm at the point where I was like, okay, so what is next? I'm looking for what is going to happen next. I have looked at maybe having a second shop elsewhere. I've looked at some premises in Rugby, but I don't know if that's really what I want to do. I was looking at maybe opening a cafe or a coffee shop where we can just sell our cake in there. But again, I don't know if that is what I want to do. I don't know. I'm open to offers and ideas.
No, but I suppose that's the exciting bit about it, because you are open to all of these ideas, but equally, by talking to you and knowing you, you've got a good, sensible brain on your head. So you're not going to go gung ho on kind of one project without doing your due diligence and research and make sure it's all okay.
Yes.
So it's an interesting time. It's an exciting time.
It is. It is. I'm waiting for the right thing to come along, and we'll do something. I just don't know what that is yet.
Fair play. Fair play. Well, we've been talking for 21 minutes, which is absolutely cracking. If people who has been watching this and listening to this and wants to find you on socials and website and all that jazz, where can they find you? Where do you hang out online?
We're on Instagram and Facebook mostly. We do have a TikTok, but you know me in video. I'm not the best at that. And Twitter, I don't get. So we are, but Facebook and Instagram, we're most prolific on them.
Aces. And please, folks, check out the Instagram and Facebook. Instagram's just lovely, loads of ideas for you. And as I said, donuts. Completely changed my way of thinking about wedding cakes.
Love my donuts.
They're brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I looked at them and I wanted a donut straight away. It was like, oh, I wanted one. Saffron, thank you so much for your time today.
Very welcome.
Thank you very, very much. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for being part of this live with us, and also watching this on YouTube or listening to it on a podcast platform. Remember, if you've liked this episode, check it out. Check out the previous episodes. Check and like and subscribe to the channel or wherever you're watching or listening to it. That way you get the latest updates as we go along. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Take care, everyone, in the Grow community. And Saffron, thank you so much for being part of this today. Take care.
Thank you for asking. Take care now.
Cheers.
Bye.